So welcome to the Edexcel Hire. As there's no date on this one, but it is November 2022. Trust me, it's non-calc paper one. So here we go. 500, you got loads of ways of splitting the 500. I'm going for 50 tens. Don't be afraid of speeding things up with sideways splits or even three-way splits. Like so. It doesn't ask it for the answer to be in index form, but if you want to, 5 cubed times 2 squared, you could just list them 5 times 5 times 5 times 2 times 2, but speed it up. Number 2, absolutely standard non-calc questions here. This time we've got an add and a divide, so I'm always a fan. Don't bother about 1 plus 2. You can do that, but when you're revising, stick to practicing going into top heavy. Big times bottom plus top. And then, it's a bit more challenging than just doing, you can do the 1 plus 2 and put it out of the way. Yeah, but what happens when it's a takeaway and it goes into negatives? And so just better off having that cast iron method that works for all situations. So on the left-hand term, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 4, right-hand term by 5. Giving us, add the numerators, 77 over 20. How many times does 20 go into 77? It's 3. Remainder 17. Next one, show means do. So 2 and 2/3 is 8/3. Dividing by 6 is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Top times top, bottom times bottom. And they cancel down for a nice easy couple of marks. Number 3, don't forget, even though it's an indices question, BIDMAS rules always apply. So do the brackets first. -5 added to 8 means you've got 2 cubed inside. And here you've got the power rule. Cubed, squared, then multiplied, giving you 2 to the power of 6. How do you multiply decimals? The answer is you don't. Ignore the decimal points and crack on. You could double it and double it. However you get 128, I don't care. But in the question, there are a total of 5 digits after decimal points. Your answer needs 5 digits as well. Number 5. Basically, it's giving you loads of words for what ends up being I'd say, a trickier fractions question, let's say, but not that tricky. So, after you've read the question, you'll see they only care about car B. The probability of picking car B is 15 out of 80 people. And we want to know 15/80ths of means times, and they're going to make 40,000 cars per year. And that's your calculation to work out. Any method works. If you get the right answer, stick with it. My method, get rid of those. Top times top, 15 times 4 is 60. And there's 3 noughts to stick on. And dividing by 8, you can either halve it, or go for a slightly safer option of bus stopping. But whichever way you go about it, as long as you get 7,500, it's a good method. Number 6, the old joined or related ratios. Basically, the common thing is B, 3 to 6. So let's double the top ratios, because doubling both sides, they are in the same proportion. So we get 2 to 6. Now they've got commonality. So A is 2 when B is 6, when C is 5. definitely not one to overcomplicate. Next, expresses a fraction. Well, A is the share of 2 out of the total is 13. Again, definitely not. Whoa, what the heck happened there? Definitely not worth overcomplicating, sorry. As you can tell, I'm getting distracted. Whoop, too big. On to part B. So we've got Emma with 3 numbers. So again, how are they linked? Well, I can write P as 5 multiplied by whatever n is. N is 2m. And you've now got M and P linked. Now the key is, to get P, M has to be multiplied by 10. Or in other words, P is 10 times bigger. So wherever you see M, P should be 10 times bigger. So make sure you get those the right way around. Nice one, number 7. So, as soon as it says area and 4 by 2, you start thinking 4 times 2 is 8. And they've given you the formula. That's all it is. Pressure equals force, 10,000, divided by 8. This has happened a couple of times already. Again, halve it, or halve it, sorry, or get it bus stopped. Whichever way works for you. As long as you get 1,250, it's a good method. Number 8, bit of a strange one for HCF and so on, but the key to it really is M is a multiple of 5, but it's also got to have 7 as a factor. So the lowest possible number, the lowest number you should be thinking about is 35. You could go higher. Now you don't want 70 because 70 would be even and that would give you more common factors. You'd have the common factor of 2, which would cause the HCF to become 7 2's 14. So stick with 35, although trebling it, 105 is also a good option. But it's, why would you overcomplicate when you don't need to? So if you've got 35, we now need an even number with a factor of 7. That'll be 14 then. So it's definitely wordy, overcomplicated, but when you see the answer, it's quite a nice little puzzly question. As you can see for number 9, I've cheated because I am horrible with electronic pens. So let's just talk you through it. You haven't got a calculator, so one thing at a time. Take your -2 for x and substitute it in. Do it, so 6 times that. And then take away, so -2 cubed is, it's a -8, but ultimately minusing a minus means you plus it. And there you go. So take your time. Now, don't be soft and sort of think, well, 9 minus 9, there's a pattern here, because you could easily on your exam, on the next paper, get one that doesn't have rotational symmetry around the 0. So when it comes to cubics, don't look for quick fixes. Do each one in turn. There is symmetry on quadratics and there are patterns on linears with regards to how many steps up and across they go. But for cubics, I would not look for anything to simplify the process. It practices your negative substitution anyway. So if you're revising properly, why would you not want to revise 2 things at the same time? As you can see, I've plotted them. And in orange, I think it took me 4 or 5 goes because the electronic pen, it was me. It wasn't the electronic pen's fault. But there we go. All right, if you need to, obviously, practice those with a pencil, rub them out and keep going. But hopefully yours will be A bit better than mine. Number 10, we've got a spinner. Nice question this, nice and straightforward. Probability of getting a 5 both times. Well, getting a 5 once is 10 out of 40. Getting a 10 again is 10 out of 40. And obviously they simplify to give you a much better answer. Derek is going to spin a large number of times. So we're just saying that, large number, just not once really. How many times can he expect to get a score of 1? So for a 1, probability of a 1 is 6 out of 40. So this is just a wordy way of saying, can you convert 6 over 40 into a percentage? Percentages are easy if they're out of 100. 40 does not go into 100 straight away. You could times by 2.5, feel free. But I always go via 20s or 10s if I can. So halving it takes me down to 3 over 20, halving the top and halving the bottom, and then timesing by 5. So Derek can expect 15% of the time. Number 11, yep, I've cheated as well. I've already done the lines. So it's definitely smaller because it's going from P to Q. Describe fully. So although it's 2 marks, there are 3 things to say. As you can see, it's smaller, but it's still called an enlargement. The scale, it's getting smaller, so it's a fraction. And I look at one line there, it's gone from 3 to 1, so it's a third. And then you need the centre, and that's what the rays are for. You don't need to draw more than 2. All right, unless you don't trust yourself. 2 should find it, 3 will just confirm it. The centre is the coordinate 0, 2. Number 12, simultaneous equations. You know they're coming, you just don't know whether they're going to be straightforward or with bells on. And this one is a straightforward. Top equation 1, bottom equation 2. You could make the x's the same, times the top equation by 4 and the second equation by 5. But I always choose to keep the numbers as small as possible. So equation 1, I'm going to treble everything. 15x, 6y, 33. And let's double the second equation. 8x, 12y, 12. 12y, what the heck am I on about? That was a deliberate mistake to see if you're still awake, obviously. And because we've chose to make the y's the same, we look at the signs in front. Same signs, subtract. And we get a nice 7x is 21, x is 3. Pick either equation, top or bottom. I go for the top one. Don't know why. They're all positive. They're all nice and easy. And substitute in what you know. So 5x's are 5 3's. And solve it as you would normally. 2y, take away 15 from both sides. Now divide both sides by 2 for the answer of -2 for your value of y. Number 13. So we've got inverse proportion. Sometimes these are given in tables, as this one is, sometimes in words, but the process is the same. You're told that P is inverse proportion, means K over. And we know some facts. When P is 1, T is 100. So times both sides by 100. We know that K is 100. Nice. And so we've got the equation P equals 100 over the value of T. So to fill each blanks in, this one's the first one I go for, then that's one next. So take your value of t, do 100 divided by 25, 4, do 100 divided by 2, you get 50. This one's the other way around. So you've got you've got p this time, so 5 equals 100 over t. So you can either rearrange or you can just say to yourself, 100 divided by what number gives me 5? That number is 20. As you can see, cheat of number 14, because I'm, as you've heard before, rubbish with electronic pens, but also histograms are easy. Once you've got over the fact that it's just areas of rectangles, always make a column with widths on, 50 to 70, 70 to 80, and so on. Remember that frequency is area. It's the area of your rectangles, and frequency density, therefore, is your height. So area 20 divided by width 20 gives me 1. 50 divided by 10, 60 divided by 10, 30 divided by 20. So we've got results ranging from 1 to 6. So a sensible scale. As you can see, these numbers here, you could have gone up from 0.5s, but you wouldn't have got there. So you could have gone 2, 4, 6, but it would have squished it down. So not 0.5s, but 2s would have been acceptable. But as you can see, get your widths on, like that. Get your heights on, and do use a ruler. One of those weird ones where it doesn't ask any follow-up questions or anything about the median or anything, so just bog standard, take the marks and run. So number 15, don't forget the formula for the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. And this is a fraction of a circle. We just don't know what fraction. But what we do know is it's the circumference multiplied by the fraction out of 360 because it's a circle. We can get rid of the pi's and we can start to tidy up. The left-hand side has now just got a 4 on it. The right-hand side has 2 lots of r. That's 2 18s. That's 36. So 36 over 360 means you've got x over 10. So we times both sides by 10 and you're home and dry. 40 degrees, job done. Number 16, prove. Now personally, I would avoid any form of factorising, taking the left-hand side and trying to turn it into the right-hand side. I would stick with the slightly long-winded way. Expand both sides, and you will see, in order to prove it, you will see the left equals the right, as long as you've done the algebra correctly. So, the left-hand side, to square a bracket, square the first, square the last, times the two together and double it. Do the same here, but there's a minus in front of it, so we need to change the signs. So square the first, so we've got minus 4n squared. Square the last is positive 1, but it becomes negative 1. Multiply them together is negative 2n, but double it is negative 4n, but we've got to change the sign, positive 4n. If we tidy that up, I always put the squares first, and you will see you could easily take a 4 out if you wanted to, but I do that on the next stage. So we've got positive 4m and positive 4n, because as you can see, the ones have different signs, they cancel. Right-hand side, I'll do the 4 later. Let's do the other loop. So m times all of these. M times m, m times negative n, and m times 1. And then we've got n times all of these. So positive nm, negative n squared, positive n. Don't do too much at once. Let's tidy it up first. You'll notice the negative mn, the positive nm, they disappear, cancel out. M squared minus n squared, and I'm obviously conscious of keeping it in the same order as my left-hand side. Positive m and positive n from the end. And if we expand, we're there, because we're getting the identical as this line here. But I wouldn't just stop there. Whatever phrases you've used, I will go for that to wrap it up nicely. I won't scroll down to part B, I'll just read out what's going on. I'll change the colour to, I've had enough of green. So, Sophia says that the result shows the difference of the squares of any two odd numbers. So I've done it on my, look at my worked answers. I've had to go at it, but here I'll do it verbally. What you've got to realise is up here, 2n plus 1 is odd. 2n minus 1 is odd. And if you've got an even number, which is 2m and so on, so you've got odd, take away odd. Well, minusing is exactly what difference means. And so has to be a multiple of 4. Well, look at the right-hand side. There's a 4 in front of it. So it doesn't matter whatever the heck m and n are, you're going to get a multiple of 4. I'll just read out what I've put on my worked answers. I've put yes, left-hand side has 2n plus 1 and 2n minus 1, which are odd, and right-hand side has 4 times, which means must be a multiple of 4. So I have been quite wordy on my worked answers, but I think it needed it. Number 17, I like these people, I like them. So a 3 on the bottom means cube root, and you can do it to the top and the bottom separately. Power of 4 on top makes it bigger. You can also do them separately. It's a non-calc paper, so you don't want to be doing 27 to the power of 4. You make them smaller. The third root of 8 is 2. The third root of 27 is 3. So all you've got to do now is work out 2 to the power of 4, which is 16. And 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81. On we go. No one's favourite, circle theorems, even less of a favourite, because there's not a lot of numbers. Now again, on my worked answers, I've done the reasons. I'll just read you through them now. So, give a reason for each stage of your working. Start on this. So you've got O to B, O to A. Because you've got the radius, you've got an isosceles triangle. And that means this angle here is 180 minus the x halved. And that's right for each angle, but we only care about OBA for now. Next circle theorem. Because DC is a tangent at the radius OB, we have a right angle here, or in other words, 90 degrees. It says show that, show means find. Angle ABC is, as you can see here, go from A to B to C. It's that. In other words, it's the 90 I've just waffled about, minus, and let's just simplify this, 180 over 2 is 90, minus a half x. And you can almost tell what's going to happen. 90 take away 90, disappear. And you end up with minus of a minus. So they've gone. You're left with a half x, and that's plenty to get the marks. Number 19. So I always say to people, forget what it says here. Let's just focus on what's going on. If you're trying to solve, you've got a couple of choices. Choice one is you can combine the fractions. Me personally, I'm not a fan of that. I like to multiply everything through by one denominator, then the other denominator. So, 3 terms. If we times everything by x, on the first term, it disappears. On the second term, we get an x on top. On the third term, we get 4x. Not forgetting they're equal. That job's done. Now multiply everything by x plus 1. There we go. Second term, it cancels out. Right-hand side. There we go. So next stage, tidy things up. Expand some brackets. So x plus 1 minus x. They obviously cancel. 4x squared for that loop plus 4x. So they're gone. Let's make it equal to 0. So leave the 4x squared and the 4x, but just subtract 1 from both sides. Now, because they've already given you the clue that the answer is in surd form, it does not factorise. So you could complete the square to solve it if you want. I wouldn't bother. Quadratic formula for me all day long, A, B and C. So let's go, and it'll tidy up in the form they want it to. As they've said, A and B are fractions, so it's not going to cancel down massively friendly. So we get minus B plus or minus the square root. B squared is 16 minus 4 times A, which is 16, times C, which is negative a negative 16. So it's 16 plus 16 all over 2A, 2 4s, 8. So you can already see the first part of this is negative 4 over 8. Negative a half, in other words. So what we need to look at is this root 32. So root 32 is root 16 times root 2, or in other words, 4 root 2. So this second part, we've got the plus or minus, but we've got 4 root 2 over an 8. Well, look, the 4 and the 8 become a half as well. And the root 2 can either be on the side or on the top. Yeah, one of those ones that doesn't look so friendly, but not bad. Just get your teeth into it, see how far you can get. Number 20. If you go for a probability tree, you're going to be there a long, long time. So, Alfie, etc., etc. He's taking 2 cards at random. Probability that he gets different colours. So you could go blue, green, blue, white. Takes ages. No. Chance of getting different colours is 1 minus you get the same colour. So let's just worry about probabilities of getting 2 cards the same. We've got blue, blue. So first blue would be 3/11. Second blue, 2/10. Each needs to be reduced by 1. That gives us 6 over 110. Don't bother cancelling down, it's non-calc. Doesn't ask you to, why waste time? Then we do green, green. Notice, white, white is impossible, so don't even bother with it. Green, green, so that'll be 7 out of 11. One fewer green means there's 6 out of 10, so 42. So these two combined is 48 110ths. So to do 1 minus that, we just need a number that adds to 48 to give 110, and that is 62. Again, do not bother cancelling down. Waste of time. Number 21. They've squished the cos curve a little bit, but it's still the same thing you're used to drawing in class. You're just used to it being a little bit chunkier. It's still got a maximum of 1 and a minimum of -1, which already gives you a pointer there. And don't forget, sine curve, cos curves have a period. They repeat every 360. So this is a half of that, 180. Number 22. People never like it when some trigonometry comes up on a non-calc paper, but trust me, one weird step aside, it's not a bad question. So, you've got an angle and the opposite side, it has to be the sine rule. So we can say that sine 30 divided by 10.7 will equal, it wants the sine of angle A to B to C. Fortunately, it's opposite the 6.5. So sine of the angle, call it something else if you want, but it's 6.5. So a couple of things now, we can give ourselves a bit more room. In order to write sine ABC equals, I will need to times both sides by 6.5. So the 6.5 will appear on the top of the fraction. And sine 30, it keeps coming up again and again. You've got to get it learned. Sine 30 is a half. So when you do top times top and bottom times bottom, doubling 10.7, 21.4. Problem, it wants them as integers. That means get rid of decimals. Well, decimals is easy to get rid of. Decimals are easy, sorry. There's one decimal point, we'd like to move them up. So let's times by 1. Bit like rationalising a denominator. But let's times top and bottom by 10. We get 65 over 214. On we go. So, not a very friendly question 23. Not only is it geometric sequences, it's basically a surds question. Now, to work out the next term, you need to know what you're multiplying by. You need the common ratio. To find the common ratio, you divide consecutive terms. Might as well pick the simplest. So we've got the common ratio, but let's rationalise. So top times top, bottom times bottom, we get 10 over 5, which obviously is 10 over 5 cancels. The common ratio, the multiplier, is 2 root 5. So we need to take the fifth term and times by 2 root 5. 400 times 2 is 800. Root 5 times root 5 is 5. These are all multiplied. Answer is 4,000. Plenty of work to do for 2 marks there. Speaking of which, lots of work for these 3. Now, there are some shortcuts. Let's not worry about that. The fact is, to go from the 4th term to the 6th term, you multiply by the new common ratio twice. You multiply by r and then r again. So in other words, we can say that the 6th term divided by the 4th term will give us r squared. Obviously, dividing means you multiply by the reciprocal. So the 5 root 2 and the 5 root 2, they basically disappear. They've gone. You're left with 8 on the bottom, and this 4 has flipped up to the top, like so. So in other words, r squared is a half. It says all terms are positive. So we're ignoring square root, which gives us a minus, because multiplying by a minus would give us some minus numbers in the sequence. So we take the 4/8 and we square root, and when we square root a half, we square root the top and we square root the bottom. So the multiplier, or if you're working backwards, the divisor, I don't know, it's teacher, not English teacher, it's r. So next bit, work out the 1st term. So we've got the 4th. Now, if you want to go from the 4th to the 3rd, you would divide by r. To the 2nd, you would divide by r again. And to go back to the 1st, you would divide by r again. So in other words, you would take the 4th term and you would divide by r cubed. In other words, 1 over root 2 cubed. Now the 1 cubed on top, no one cares. All right, let's not worry about that because we're about to flip it. So 5 root 2 over 4, that stays alone. Divide means multiply by the reciprocal, like so. So what we've got, the over one, let's ignore. We've actually got root 2 times root 2 times root 2 times root 2. In other words, root 2 to the power of 4. So if you were to work that out, root 2 times root 2 is 2 times 2 root 2 times root 2 gives us 4. These cancel. Everything disappears. We're left with a 5. I think I explained that a little bit gibberish, but don't forget, root 2 cubed times root 2 is root 2 to the 4, which is basically root 2 squared times root 2 squared. That's probably a better explanation. Those cancel, and that's why it cancels with the 4. I think I just about survived that one. Hope you understood it. Number 24A looks horrible. I don't think it's as horrible as the previous one. But it is 2 parts. Loads of things are going to cancel. Just trust the process and go with it. You can see it's only worth 2 marks. So shouldn't be that much. So you're told they're equal. Okay, but just jot them down. Just put them equal to each other. Volume of the sphere, volume of the cone. Let's see what happens. So first of all, you've got a pi on both sides. Get rid. You've got a third on both sides. Get rid. You've got an r squared on both sides. Get rid. Let's tidy up. 4r equals h. Oh, so in other words, h is 4 times bigger. You need to multiply r by 4 to get h. So r is the smallest number. So to write r first, h is 4 times bigger. And it'll be a similar approach for part B, with a bit more to it. This one, first bit of cruelty, I think, is that they've not put height. I think that they've tried to catch you out. So that means we can write that the slanted, the hypotenuse squared, is equal to r squared plus the height squared. Now notice they've put total in bold because the formula only gives you curved. If you want total area, you've got the circular base as well. So now let's move on. We're told they're equal. Let's write that down. So 4 pi r squared is equal to curved surface area, but also the circular base. As you can probably guess from previous, get rid of that pi. It's in common with everything, and get rid of an r. Let's tidy it up and see where we're at. So 4r equals L plus r. So you can take an r away from both sides and replace L. We know what L squared is, so L is the square root of all that. So as you can see from there, there's no L. They wanted L gone. L has now gone. So from here, just some unpicking. Square both sides. 9r squared equals, and the root, the radical, the surd, whatever you call it, disappears. We subtract an r squared from both sides, and now we square root both sides. Square root of 8, 2 root 2 if you want to, but it does want a in the form of root n, so don't bother. And so similar to part A, as you can see, to get h, you must multiply r by root 8. So h is bigger. So the right-hand number, the h, must take the bigger value. All right, I do make it a big deal, but getting them the wrong way around, you lose an easy mark. After doing all the hard work, it's tough. So it's 1 to root 8 on the right-hand side. So, a couple of doozies there to finish off with, but persist with it, keep going. If they give you some clues, try it, sub it in, see what happens. Usually, they've phrased the question in such a way that lots of things cancel, whether it's algebraic fractions, whether it's formulas like this, the pi's always disappear. When it's surged, lots of things always cancel. So don't give up, stick with it, and it will come. So I really hope that's helped. I'll see you on the next paper.